This is the intro to the video. I did a bunch of shorts this year, I think. I don't know, it's all a blur. And they got a lot of views, so I thought I'd make this crappy intro before I started the compilation of all my 2022 ones. There's a secret video in here somewhere because I know the people who actually watch the videos won't want to watch them again, so I'm gonna force them to watch them again with promise of a secret video in the middle. Hopefully it's not too disappointing. Hopefully not. This microphone isn't even connected to anything. It's just, I just wanted it for aesthetic, I guess.
What is this? It's a meme, Batman.
Batman's first appearance was in Detective Comics number 27, so let's read it. The story starts out with Bruce Wayne talking to Commissioner Gordon when Gordon gets a call to come in because someone has been murdered. When they get there, the man's son is accused of being the murderer, but he explains that he simply pulled the knife out of his father, and that his father's last words were contract. They then get a call from the man's business partner telling them he got a threatening letter just like the man. We then cut to the man being attacked when Batman shows up too late to save the man, but gets a paper from the bad guys. Batman, after reading the paper, smiles and goes to the third business partner who's about to get gassed when Batman jumps in and saves him, stopping the guy. However, another man comes in and attempts to stab him, but Batman stops him too, explaining that the man was killing the people and stealing the contracts so he didn't have to pay them money for their business. And at the end of the comic, we find out for the first time that Batman is really Bruce Wayne.
And I love you, random citizen.
Superman's first appearance was in Action Comics number 1, so let's read it. The story starts out by telling a slightly different Superman origin than we're used to. We then cut to the governor's office, where Superman starts to break into it. What a menace. He then tells the governor there's a woman falsely accused, showing evidence and saving her life. We then cut to Clark Kent being assigned to cover everything Superman. This is until he hears about a wife beating going on and heads to save the woman by beating up the man. What a menace. After this, Clark asks Lois out on a date, and at the date he gets humiliated by a guy and Lois storms out. Lois then gets kidnapped by the same guys, and Superman stops them and absolutely destroys their car. What a menace. Then Clark blatantly disobeys his boss and goes to Washington, D.C. instead of San Monte. What a menace. Then he stops some Congress corruption by torturing the man causing it. What a menace. She-Hulk's first appearance was in She-Hulk number 1, so let's read it. The story starts out with Bruce Banner going to see Jennifer Walters and telling her all about his Hulk condition. They begin to drive towards her house and talk about a case she's doing where she accused a man of murdering someone. When they get out of the car, Jennifer gets shot and Banner has to run her in the house and give her a blood transfusion to save her life. After this, Banner leaves, afraid he will get caught by the police. 3 men come to the hospital and try to kill Jennifer, but she turns into She-Hulk. She begins to chase them around until she is eventually able to catch them and make them admit that they were doing it to cover up the murder their boss committed. After this, She-Hulk runs away and goes back to her hospital bed as Jen Walters.
I'm going to ask you 5 questions in 20 seconds. If you can't think of something, you just say
Stop
pass.
lecturing me, please.
Spider-Man fought the Werewolf by Night in Marvel Team-Up number 12, so let's read it. The story starts out with Spider-Man headed to San Francisco on a business trip for the Daily Bugle. On the Golden Gate Bridge, he is attacked by the Werewolf by Night, and they fight until Spidey tricks him into falling off the bridge. Spidey then heads to a coffee shop as Peter Parker and notices everyone is emotionless. That is until the werewolf shows up again and they begin to fight until Spidey smashes the werewolf's head into a car. The werewolf then turns into Jack Russell, who explains to Spidey that he came here on a getaway, but everyone was entranced by this magician and he forced Jack to turn into the werewolf. Spidey and Jack head to this magician's place, but while there, Jack turns back into the werewolf and they fight until the magician confronts them. Spidey then throws the magician into a portal and everyone goes back to normal. Spidey and the magician end up back on the Golden Gate Bridge with the magician falling into the water and Spidey swinging into the night.
Women aren't funny.
Wonder Woman's first appearance was in Sensation Comics #1, so let's read it. The story starts out with Wonder Woman taking Steve Trevor to the hospital where she drops him off and runs away. Then she goes sightseeing until people start shooting up the place and she stops them and runs away. Then a man comes and offers her a job doing her bracelet trick she did at the crime scene. She agrees and does that for a few weeks until Steve Trevor recovers and she quits. Then the man steals her money and she stops him and immediately gives it away to a woman to steal her identity. She then becomes Steve Trevor's nurse until he runs away to stop a bomb. Wonder Woman goes after him and saves him after he crashes his ship into the bomber. Then they go to the bad guy's base and stop them from spreading their gas. And Wonder Woman runs away! Hal Jordan's first appearance was in Showcase #22, so let's read it. The story starts with Absurd dying and then giving Hal Jordan the Green Lantern ring. He then heads back to the airbase where he asks Carol out on a date. However, he finds one of the planes has gone crazy and he gets in his Green Lantern suit and saves the day for the first time. Then he follows a radiation trail to find the people who caused the plane to go crazy and stops them before they can get away. When he gets back, he finds out Carol has been promoted to boss and she doesn't want to date him anymore. In the second story, Carol goes to a ball and Hal Jordan tries to woo her over as Green Lantern. However, when he kisses her, he sees a missile and goes to stop it. When he stops it, he goes to find the aircraft spotter to see if they saw where the missile came from. After finding the man who shot the missile, he takes care of him easily, but he still can't get Carol since he went to stop the missile. Poor guy.
I wanna go home. I wanna go.
Mother's already. Nazi cuckoo. Nazi cuckoo. You cuckoo. Oh.
Batman fought Dracula in Batman and Dracula Red Reign. The story starts out with Batman and Gordon investigating a strew of murders. As Batman investigates, he has dreams of a woman. Batman eventually finds one of the murderers to be a woman with astounding strength. He gets away, and the next few days, Batman notices a change in him as he has incredible strength. Eventually, he finds the vampire's hiding spot and they attack him, but the lady from his dreams shows up to save him. She tells Batman her name is Tanya and that they need to come up with a plan to stop Dracula. She also tells him she has been visiting him to give him a gift. Eventually, after Gordon gets kidnapped by Dracula, they put their plan into action and Batman starts leading the vampires to Wayne Manor. Once there, he sets off a bomb to destroy the manor and expose the vampires to the sun, but this kills Tanya. After this, Batman shows that the gift Tanya gave him was wings, and he goes to save Gordon from Dracula. However, the battle ends with Dracula stabbed through the heart, and Batman turned into a vampire.
Oh my god, I'm a vampire! Nom 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 nom.
Joker takes control of all the vampires in Batman Bloodstorm, so let's read it. The story starts out with Batman attempting to take down the last few vampires alive who have been feeding off the homeless. Batman is also struggling with not being able to drink blood. This is until the Joker finds the vampires and tells them he can give them a comfortable life with plenty of blood. They begin to turn all the mob bosses in Gotham into vampires and take control of Gotham. Meanwhile, a woman gets bit by a vampire who turned into a wolf. This turns her into a cat creature under the full moon. Batman eventually runs into this Catwoman and they fall in love as she helps him with his bloodthirst. They begin to kill all the mob bosses who have been turned until all that is left is Joker's little gang. They begin to fight Joker's gang and end up killing them all. However, Joker shoots a stake right through Catwoman's heart. This causes Batman to go over the edge and drink Joker's blood. After this, he tells Alfred that he can't go back from this decision and tells Alfred to stake him in the heart.
I have come back to life!
Batman kills all his villains and Batman Crimson Mist, so let's read it. The story starts out with Batman dead and his rogues gallery taking control of Gotham. Alfred eventually decides to bring back Batman by taking the stake out of his heart. Batman, now filled with a dark heart, goes on a rampage, killing all of his villains. Two-Face goes to Alfred and Gordon looking for an alliance. They come up with a plan to trap Batman and kill him again. They use Alfred as bait and successfully stab him in the heart, falling down a chasm. However, Two-Face betrays them and starts attacking both of them. While Alfred is running away, he finds Batman is still alive and offers his blood if he could stop the villains. He does so and Batman kills Two-Face and his gang. He then allows Commissioner Gordon to blow the ceiling up and expose him to the sun, killing him for good. Barry Allen's first appearance was in Showcase number 4, so let's read it. The story starts out with Barry Allen reading his Flash comics and wishing he could be a hero like him. He then gets struck by lightning. He wakes up and after a while he begins to realize he has powers and starts using these newfound powers. He decides to become a superhero. After his date Iris almost gets shot by the slowest man alive, Barry Allen decides to stop him. He starts by trying to stop him from a bank robbery, but the man begins to use Barry's powers against him by using tricks and traps. Eventually he's able to outrun the slowest man and arrest him. In the second story there is a strain of robberies that don't make sense. Barry decides to look into it and finds a man who seems to be a criminal from the future who was sent here by mistake. After pursuing him for a while, he finally catches him and takes him back to the future to be sent to the time he was supposed to go to.
It was me, Barry. I made them draw Lola Bunny with fewer sexual features.
The Reverse Flash's first appearance was in The Flash number 139, so let's read it. The story starts out with a time capsule being sent straight to the future with a Flash suit as one of the items. However, the scientist who did this reveals that he has accidentally put an atomic bomb into the time capsule that will destroy the future. The Flash then decides to use the cosmic treadmill to go retrieve it. Meanwhile, the time capsule arrives in the future and a man steals the Flash costume. He finds a way to recreate the Flash's powers through the suit and give them to himself. He becomes a criminal and starts stealing valuable items. The Flash arrives looking for the bomb but finds out about the Reverse Flash and goes to stop him. After a long-fought battle, it looks like both are equally matched, until Barry decides to run so fast that he burns off the chemical giving the Reverse Flash's powers, and this allows him to stop him. He then finds and destroys the atomic bomb and goes home.
Hi, welcome to the secret video. You watched enough of the video to make it. Yeah. I know. I had bigger plans. I was gonna order a trampoline and I was gonna do a bunch of illegal stuff, and I know you're disappointed. So were my parents. Not by the video, of course, but by me in general. What are you doing there? Are you putting the timestamp for the secret video in the comments? You can't do that. People gotta watch the video after all. What are you doing? What are you doing?
The Flash meets Jay Garrick for the first time in The Flash number 123, so let's read it. The story starts out with Iris at a show where the magician called out. Barry tells her that Flash can come and entertain the kids. The Flash shows up and starts entertaining the kids, but after one trick, he disappears. He ends up on the outskirts of the city and goes looking around. He finds that this is not his Earth, but rather the Earth from the Flash comic on his Earth. He goes to meet Jay Garrick. He meets them and he decides to come out of retirement and become the Flash to stop some villains. They split up at first, and both of them fail at stopping their villains, with both of them being outwitted. When they meet up again, they decide to team up and stop the bad guys. When they team up, they are able to easily outwit all three bad guys, and Barry Allen decides to go home.
Bruh, look at this dude. Wait till you see the...
Hey guys, so basically, if you follow my community tabs, my Facebook and or my Instagram, then you know I went to a Comic-Con this weekend. And in this short, I just wanted to show off some of the stuff I found. So let's go ahead and check that out. So here is all the $1 to $2 stuff I found. It ranges from a few small things to complete some collections to the Dark Side War, Forever Evil, and the first appearance of Hugo Strange, some World War Hulk, and a few of one of the Sinestro War that I needed. Then we got a $5 Elseworld story where Superman is raised by the Bruce Waynes and becomes Batman. And finally, I won a raffle which allowed me to win the Amazing Spider-Man #1, which is the first cameo appearance of Silk, which was pretty cool that I won the raffle. This next one, basically, I was just looking through this guy's comics and I found some Animal Man comics. And I was excited to look at them because I found a few I didn't have. And he said, "Oh, I have the whole series there. I'll give it to you for $20. It was the entire Grant Morrison Animal Man, the one I did a video on. Go check that out, by the way. He basically gave me 26 books for $20. And of course I wasn't going to take that deal. Was. Next, I was able to find these two books, which this is the second appearance of Werewolf by Night, and I got it for $25. I was able to take them down. This one was $20, and I took it down to $15. You should know these books, though, because you went and watched the video I made on them. Go check that out, by the way.
Jay Garrick's first appearance was in Flash Comics #1, so let's read it. The story starts out with Jay not being able to get a date with a girl because he is too much of a nerd. However, that night he accidentally knocks over some chemicals and they knock him out and put him in the hospital for weeks. When he gets out, he finds out he has speed powers and doesn't even try to hide them by playing every football game in order to get a date with these powers. Eventually, he graduates high school and decides to don a suit and become a superhero. Years later, his old girlfriend comes and says her father has been kidnapped and she needs Jay's help. He finds the kidnappers and saves her father. The next day, the kidnappers attempt to kill her father, but the Flash is able to stop them. He then chases down the bad guys and stops them one by one and takes them down.
We're going back in time to the first Thanksgiving to get turkeys off the menu.
The Justice League and Justice Society celebrate Thanksgiving in JSA number 54, so let's read it. The story starts out with Batman being skeptical about having the JLA and JSA under one roof. We then get to see the heroes having small talk in the other room. While talking, Black Cat and Wonder Woman get into a fight, so Wonder Woman throws him out a window. Batman decides to go check on Dr. Midnight, who is monitoring the cities and jails. However, he finds him distracted talking to someone. In the other room, Green Arrow and Hawkman are about to fight, but Batman comes in just in time to stop them. He tries to figure out if things could go wrong by asking a hero to use his future sight. However, he is interrupted because it is time to eat. However, as the heroes begin to eat, two supervillains crash the party and ruin all the food. However, the heroes are able to easily take them out. Then they order pizza and Batman says, "I told you so."
Oh, howdy, Mom. I hear you're the best mom in the world.
Colonel Sanders meets an alternate universe version of himself in the Colonel of Two Worlds, so let's read it. The story starts out with rogues feeling like they are always failing, so they decide to team up with an evil Colonel Sanders from Earth 3 named Colonel Sunder. Colonel Sunder's plan is to open a crappy chicken business and rob banks around the area in order to turn it into a franchise. This gains the attention of Colonel Sanders, who heads to stop him. Meanwhile, Green Lantern and the Flash are trying to stop bank robberies and decide to investigate the chicken restaurant. However, Colonel Sanders steps in to stop Colonel Sunder himself. As the two begin to fight, Colonel Sanders talks about how his chicken is made with heart and hard work. Colonel Sunder doesn't believe this and starts using every trick he has on him. However, he ends up throwing him back to Earth 3. Finally, he decides to treat the rogues to a home-cooked KFC meal. Spider-Man's first appearance was in Amazing Fantasy number 15, so let's read it. The story starts with Peter Parker being loved by his aunt, uncle, and science teachers, but all the kids his age thinks he's a nerd. Until one day he goes to a science show where they accidentally irradiate a spider that bites Peter. After this, he finds out he has incredible strength and can stick to walls. He uses these powers to win a wrestling match while concealing his identity. He garners the attention of a TV producer and he goes on to become a famous TV celebrity through many shows of him showing his powers. This is until one day a robber runs past him and he decides not to stop him. A few days later he finds out his uncle has been murdered. He heads to find the murderer and when he tracks him down he finds that it is the same robber he let go. So Spider-Man walks off vowing to use his powers in order to save people from now on.
Something tells me a whole lot of people are about to die.
Harley and Ivy go Christmas shopping with Bruce Wayne in the Batman Adventure Holiday Special, so let's read it. The story starts out with Harley telling Ivy that she thinks it's going to be a bad Christmas, but Ivy assures her she has a plan. We then cut to Bruce Wayne, where a bunch of girls are trying to kiss him under the mistletoe, but a mysterious girl kisses him instead. He then walks outside and a car door opens and he suddenly loses control of himself and gets in. We find that Ivy and Harley plan to use his riches to go on a shopping spree for Christmas. This goes on for a while until Bruce starts to break the trance and in a struggle falls down an elevator shaft. Harley and Ivy don't really care since they have his credit cards and decide to continue their shopping spree. However, now Batman has shown up and starts chasing them down. After a long tussle, Batman ends up dropping a Christmas tree on top of them.
Krampus is a movie that I legitimately love. I watch it almost every year. This being a comedy instead of a horror movie makes it a much more enjoyable watch during the Christmas season. The story is simple and easy to follow, and that's all it needs to be. And I will admit that there are a few characters who don't get enough screen time during the movie, meaning you don't really care about them when they end up dying. However, the characters they do end up trying on, you really want to survive and you really end up liking by the end of the movie. Speaking of which, let's talk about the ending. I do like that they keep it vague, but at the same time, I'm also like, I really want to know if they survived or not. Overall, an instant Christmas cult classic. And if you wanted me to make a full video on this, then let's get this short to 1K likes. Bye!
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Mr. Freeze makes it a white Christmas in the Batman Adventures Holiday Special, so let's read it. The story starts out with Batman investigating the breakout of Mr. Freeze. Batman finds out that he had been asking about the weather all week, and when he found out it wasn't going to snow Christmas Eve, he broke out. However, Batman walks out and finds that it is snowing and heads to look for Freeze. On his way, he saves a mother and daughter from a sliding car. He is then able to track Freeze down to his cemetery. At the cemetery, he begins to fight Freeze until he is hit and falls down. He then looks up and sees his parents' grave, which gives him the motivation to keep fighting. He then hits the power core of Freeze's weapon, which causes it to explode. He then asks Freeze why he did this, and he says he married his wife 10 years ago on a snowy Christmas, and when he found out there wouldn't be one this year, he didn't want his wife to be sad about it.
Be a lady. Maybe meet a guy when you're at school, and then you'll get pregnant with child.
Fred Claus is a movie that is absolute garbage, but can sometimes be good garbage. It's like a movie you can sit down and watch with your friends in order to laugh at all the stupidity of it all. Sadly, I did not watch this with friends, mostly because I don't have any, and it was miserable. The movie has no likable characters except for Fred, who is the one they are trying to make you dislike, and even he's annoying. And don't even get me started on the pacing. It made this 2-hour movie feel like a 4-hour movie with how ready I was for it to be over so I could jump out a window. So, imagine my shock when, at the end of the movie, there was an actual well-written speech that tied the themes of the movie together pretty well. But, if you want to hear more about that, then get this short to 1K likes, and I'll make a full video on it next Christmas. Bye!
Santa.
No witnesses?
The JLA saves Santa from hell in JLA number 60, so let's read it. The story starts with Plastic Man trying to get a kid to go to bed before Christmas, so he makes up a story about Santa joining the Justice League. His story starts out with the JLA deciding to allow Santa to join the JLA, but they get a message from the demon Neron, telling them that he lured Santa to hell by making kids do naughty things for presents. So the JLA head to hell to save Santa. When they get there, Neron starts sending his demonized toys after them. They fight them until they see Santa and try to set him free. But Neron turns them all to coal and puts them in his stocking. However, they loosen Santa's prison just enough to where he can use his heat vision to escape. Then he stops Neron by giving him a gift of socks, which destroys him. The kid doesn't believe this story until they both see Santa outside. However, we find out this is just Martian Manhunter pulling a prank on Plastic Man.
Hello, this is Santa, and I am here to tell you that I eat millions of cookies each year. And yet I'm still not as morbidly obese as your mother.
Superman beats up Santa to save Christmas in Action Comics number 105, so let's read it. The story starts out with a man who absolutely hates Christmas. He hates it so much that he fires a man for telling him Merry Christmas. Eventually, the story of how a man was fired for saying Merry Christmas reaches the Daily Bugle, and Superman goes to check it out. He interrogates one of the man's employees and finds out he plans on sabotaging Christmas. Meanwhile, the man finds Santa and hands him a box of chocolates. When Santa eats the chocolates, he falls asleep and gains twice his weight due to the effects of the chocolate. When Superman arrives, he comes up with a plan to help Santa lose all that weight by putting him in near-death scenarios and beating him up in order to lose weight. After he loses the weight, they head to the sleigh, but the reindeer have been given the same drug. So Superman decides to be Santa's reindeer, and they are able to save Christmas while making the man see the error of his ways.
Hey.
Okay.
In the wake of the new Spiderverse this summer, let's go over the movie that started it all. I mean, yeah, who hasn't said it already? This movie is great. I cannot wait for the sequel this summer. The characters in this movie are great, each one feeling like a real person reacting to the situations they are being put in. I do not care what anyone says. This movie made Miles Morales great. Not the comics or any junk like that. This movie. The art style of this movie is also great, allowing the creators to stretch their imagination with what they can make. The pacing of this movie is perfect, and the twists come at the perfect time to keep you watching the movie. The final fight, having only Miles, was a perfect addition to the character. Overall, one of the greatest animated movies of all time, and if you want me to make a full video on it, get this short to 1K likes. Bye!
My wife and I split up, but I handled it like a champion.
Spider-Man marries Mary Jane in the Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 21, so let's read it. The story starts out with Spider-Man taking down some criminals. Once he's finished with that, he heads home and starts talking with Mary Jane about their marriage plans. Then he heads to the Daily Bugle where he gets a surprise wedding party. After this, he heads to his aunt's house to tell her about the wedding. However, he sees an album with Gwen Stacy in it and wonders whether marrying Mary Jane is the right thing to do for her safety. He then goes to see Flash Thompson to tell him he wants him to be his best man. Flash tells Parker he's going to give him a bachelor party. The night they have the bachelor party, he asks Flash and Harry whether it's the right thing to do. They both tell him that if you love Mary Jane, then it is. That night, Peter has a dream about him getting married, but all his villains decide to come after MJ. The next day, even though they are both late, they both get married and decide that they are happy together.
You're letting him kill Martha.
What does that mean?
I enjoyed parts of Man of Steel. feel? The first hour feels like a best of compilation of Superman growing up and saving random people. When the film gets kind of good is when the actual plot kicks in. However, even this feels more like an hour-long battle scene rather than an actual story with character development. Speaking of which, none of them have characters. They're either there to just be like, oh, I'm Superman's girlfriend, or oh, I moved the plot forward an inch or two. And the soundtrack is actually pretty great. I actually might listen to it after this. The battle scenes are fun, but bland. Speaking of which, that perfectly describes this movie. It's just bland. But hey, if you want to hear more on that, get this video to 1K likes, and I'll make a full video on it. Bye!
In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. Why bother?
Green Goblin's first appearance was in Amazing Spider-Man number 14, so let's read it. The story starts out with Green Goblin getting his plan together by recruiting the Enforcers. He then tells a movie producer that he can get Spider-Man in a movie. He then gets the attention of Spider-Man and tells him his movie proposal. He agrees because he needs the money. The next day he heads to the first shooting and wonders why the Enforcers look like the real thing. Then they start shooting the first fight scene, but the Enforcers start going off script and beating up Spider-Man. Spider-Man realizes it's a trap and fights them until he can get away. He hides in a cave, but the bad guys block the entrance. Oh yeah, also this is the Hulk's cave for some reason, and he starts attacking Spider-Man. Spider-Man tricks Hulk into breaking the boulder, and he heads out the cave. He attaches onto Goblin's jet, but is knocked off by him. The Goblin is able to escape, and Peter heads back home.
Smile is an almost perfect movie, with its creepy imagery and amazing cinematography. I was on the edge of my seat for almost the entire movie, with a well-acted and written cast of characters bringing the movie together quite well. That is until the last 30 minutes of the movie, when things take a turn for the worst. They add in some goofy monster and an obvious twist that could have been easily avoided if one guy wasn't so stupid. It turns the movie from a well-acted and written psychological horror to a goofy rip-off of The Ring. However, if you can get past the obvious flaws of the ending, then this is an actual good movie. However, if you want to hear more on this movie, then get this video to 1K likes, and I'll make a full video on it. Bye.
Move! If you guys know it, just move. I want to see some movement. I'm not seeing enough movement.
The Joker celebrates New Year's in the Batman Adventures Holiday Special, so let's read it. The story starts out with Batman seeing on the TV that Joker has decided for his New Year's resolution that he is going to not kill anyone for an entire year, but he's going to kill as many people tonight to make up for it. So Batman goes to figure out his plan when he finds the body of a man working on a sonic weapon that would kill people in a huge radius. Batman realizes that his plan is to set off the new weapon as soon as the new year rolls around at Gotham Square. So he heads that way to stop it. When he gets there, he finds that Joker has given everyone Joker masks to conceal his identity. However, Batman is able to find them because they are wearing the protection from the bomb. He then beats up Joker and is able to disable the bomb with a bell falling right on top of the Joker. After this, Batman and Gordon celebrate the new year together.
Whoa. What are you still doing here? In my house. The video's over. Why are you still here? The video's over. You can click on a new video. You don't have to keep watching. It's over. Like, that was all the shorts of the year. Pretty good stuff, right? Yeah. Yeah, you need to leave. Yeah, you're kind of trespassing now. What, were you hoping for another secret video? That's for next year's, which will probably be way longer than this year's and way harder to edit. Anyway, you gotta go, man. Bye.
Now you listen here. I said you gotta go.